Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where two friends get together and talk about the story behind the matches. I'm Matt.
And I'm Michael.
Welcome to episode 72, The Ross Report.
Fuck it, they should have done it live.
God damn it.
So this was a segment on WCW Worldwide, which was one of the TV shows that WCW had, but also from WCW Main Event. WCW had a lot of TV shows back in the day.
The early cable TBS party.
Yes.
Like, they were all like...
They were TBS, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But both of them were produced by WCW. The footage that we're going to watch on this show is from a house show on August 2nd, 1992, from the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. But none of it would be shown until a week later, on August 8th. But let's talk about Baltimore.
Baltimore. I always wanted to go to Baltimore.
You know what you can have good in Baltimore?
They got some good...
According to The Wire, drugs. Burner phones, corpses in boarded up buildings. That's the kind of thing I'm into.
I have been to Baltimore, and my fun time was riding around on the train, and that was about all I got to do. Because my friend was broke at the time, so we hung out at her apartment and ate fast food, and then I went with another friend to hop on a train to go to DC for the day.
Yeah.
But
probably try to catch some shows. I'm pretty sure Baltimore has a pretty decent scene musically.
Yeah. But they got some good music scene. I'm more of a foodie guy myself, so
Jimmy Seafood.
That's right.
Oh, is that where that is?
That's where the wrestlers go.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, what's the one in Japan, Ribera, where you get the jacket? But Jimmy Seafood, I didn't know that was a wrestler spot. I just know that there's a place called Jimmy Seafood.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. Is that the U.S. version of Ribera? Do they get jackets, and is there photos of wrestlers? And
I'm sure there's photos everywhere.
I guess there's probably some photos. I'm gonna have to check out Jimmy C's. Maybe one day we can take this little show of ours on the road.
Yeah, when we go to WrestleMania Baltimore.
Once I run out of recipe ideas, we'll have to go and eat where the wrestlers ate.
There we go.
What they ate.
Chicken and rice, if they're trying to take care of themselves.
I don't see too many of them doing that too much. But yeah, Baltimore. Food. What is Baltimore known for? Matthew?
Crab cakes,
of
course.
Cakes.
I mean, that's what Jimmy Seafood's famous for. I know that. I didn't know it was in Baltimore, but I know that it's famous for that.
Baltimore and crab cakes go together like...
Maryland blue crab.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of
like a burner phone and a drug dealer.
We all went totally different directions on that.
You said Baltimore, and immediately I just think of The Wire.
And see, I still haven't watched The Wire, so... Well, shut up. You hadn't seen Good Will Hunting yet.
It's fine. It's fine. There's plenty of things. There's only so much time on this planet. You just got to dole it out when you got time for it.
So yes, crab cakes. As everybody that has been listening recently knows, since I started on the podcast, I decided to put my own little spin and come up with a featured food or beverage from the area. And with Baltimore being known for their amazing crab cakes, couldn't resist bringing in a crab cake. Plus, it was kind of suggested and recommended, and
it was your idea. We're just reaping the benefits over here.
I'm asking for ideas on all this stuff, so I'm never going to say no unless it's completely over the top or I can't get to the ingredients themselves. But with the crab cakes, I unfortunately was not able to make them myself. It is possible to do. You can get some lump crab meat, a little mayo, some cracker or breadcrumb, some special spices, a little Old Bay, maybe some hot sauce, some peppers and onions.
All good choices.
Oh, yeah.
These ones here, since I was not able to make it right here in Oklahoma City, I'm lucky enough, Matt as well, is lucky enough to be a part of a food group that has an awesome restaurant known for their steaks and their seafood. Red Prime Steak. Brought to you by a Good Egg Dining Group. Go there. These ones at Red Prime, they are loaded with lumps of crab. They've got red pepper. They have a charred lemon aioli and a chili oil that comes with them. Cooked up nice and hot. A little crispy on the outside, nice and juicy in the middle. Awesome.
Yeah, Matt and I already devoured ours,
Yeah.
so...
Yes.
I saved mine so I can take a bite on air so I can talk with my mouth full. And it's good.
So some things that happened the same weekend as the show we're talking about today. Bebe's Kids.
Bebe's Kids!
Oh, baby.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie.
Yeah.
Kill him a lot.
And Death Becomes Her.
This
would
movie...
all be released.
The VHS cover for Death Becomes Her is something that I've thought about probably every week of my life since I was a little kid, and I did not watch it until today. But
watch it?
I watched it. I said I was gonna watch it. But I was like, this cover is super iconic from going to the tape store as a kid, and I've always been curious to what it was, and
standing there with a big giant hole in her chest, you got to figure out.
And Meryl Streep's got her head twisted around. It's
Yeah.
great cover. I'll bury the lead on my opinion. I'll let you guys take the floor on Bebe's Kids. What is there to say about Bebe's Kids?
It was that was a fun.
It was a fun movie.
I
Honestly,
honestly,
it was completely different.
It's a
from most
forgotten
animation
Oh,
that
yeah.
was coming out at that time.
it was adult.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it since I caught it on TV as a kid. But it's a movie that was kind of I don't know if it was a joke, but I remember it's been a thing that friends of mine have just brought up over the years because it stands alone as whatever it is. It's just you can't compare anything else to Bebe's Kids. It's just
you cannot.
it's its own thing. And I think it was either written or directed by Reggie Hudlin, who has written comic books and was the CEO
Did
of
Boomerang.
and did Boomerang. Yeah,
Dr.
exactly. Oh,
Boomerang.
nice. Yeah. I was like, I feel like we have talked about him recently.
I knew that name
But,
sounded familiar.
So maybe Bebe's Kids rewatch. I think the movie's only 80 minutes, so it's barely a movie.
I need to rewatch it. I haven't watched it since back in my days of working at Blockbuster. So that was in the late 90s.
And of course, Buffy the Vampire Slayer started. Christy Swanson, Paul Rubens,
Luke Perry.
Haven't
classic.
done it. I've the show as well. I've caught episodes as a kid, but I've never paid attention.
I
But the movie.
I loved the movie as a kid.
People either love or hate the movie. It seems like because they're totally different things, even though they're both written by Joss Whedon.
So I didn't watch the TV show until 5-6 years after it ended completely because I was just there's no way it can match up to the greatness, but they are completely two different things.
Yeah.
The movie is a comedy completely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That sounds fun.
A severe cornball comedy.
The cover of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer always makes me think of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, or there's a movie that I love that is a piece of shit that I've watched a million times as a kid. My Boyfriend's Back, where the boyfriend turns into a zombie because he gets shot at a convenience store. That movie is probably terrible, but I've seen it so many times, and whenever I see the cover of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, I always think about those types of comedies because it just has that kind of cover. And I hope that
He's almost dead.
I hope it's as good as My Boyfriend's Back, a movie that probably only skated by the fact that song is great and they can play it throughout the whole movie over and over again.
I mean, Buffy skated by on the fact that you had Luke Perry from 90210.
Oh, yeah.
In the heat of his popularity.
And you
had Paul
hop
Rubens,
on.
who I can't remember, had he already had his little...
No, he hadn't.
He hadn't.
Yeah. Oh,
He had not gone to the movie theater yet.
Yeah.
I can't remember if this
he hadn't
was
got
part of
caught
his...
at the movie theater.
That's true.
Sorry for the pun, his comeback tour. But,
Oh, God. We love Paul Rubens.
This was one of the first times that I loved Paul Rubens as Paul Rubens, because you'd only seen him as Pee Wee Herman forever, and you can only handle so much Pee Wee Herman.
And a decade after this, you get Mystery Men, the forgotten classic Mystery Men.
Hey, another good one.
I love that movie.
But yes.
But all right, so I did the thing. You
did
guys
the
give me
thing.
shit. I watch a lot of movies, and for some reason, maybe you guys are just old.
I mean, we're older than you, yes.
I'm older than both, so
But
yes.
shitty. Being shitty aside, I think our tastes are different, but they overlap enough. Matt and I know that all too well from being friends for quite a while. It's there's a lot of things that I'm I know Matt's not going to like this, so I'm not even going to bother telling him to watch it, even though I loved it. It's like, I know his taste well enough. And I think he knows the same. But Death Becomes Her, is this a classic for you guys?
I wouldn't say it's not for me. I enjoyed it. But it's not like something that I'm like.
During the early 90s, I mean, everybody loves Meryl Streep for her dramatic performances and whatnot, but two of my favorite movies from the early 90s were She-Devil and Death Becomes Her, just because
I liked She-Devil.
Totally
You're
different
a
Meryl Streep
Streepomaniac?
Not so much. I
streeper?
like Meryl Streep, but it's just fun for me to seeing her in characters like this as opposed to the super serious, dramatic, or the Devil Wears Prada bitch, or the the Iron Lady.
It was funny. The last two movies I watched both starred Meryl Streep. That's weird.
It's a good
That's not one I think. Julia and Julia, where she plays.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
It was actually very good. But Death Becomes Her looks incredible. Just like the cinematography and then the special effects are fucking wild.
Academy Award-winning special
I know.
effects.
It's crazy how good it looks and how good it holds up. And
It's a Zemeckis film, right?
Yeah. So what? It's 92, so it's post
Back to the Future.
Post Back to the Future, but still, it's like, he's
He's
got the money to put into these effects and stuff. And everybody's performance in this movie is great, but I don't feel like it's something that I'll rewatch. I laughed quite a few times. At least, maybe not quite a few times, but when I did, they were full-body laughs. When Meryl Streep fell down the stairs, I laughed really hard, and then I immediately Googled Meryl Streep falling down the stairs forever, and there's a video of like the whole thing of her going up to somebody made an edit where they're like, do the whole first part, and then he does the like little push and she rolls down the stairs for a full hour. I was like, pause, this has to exist, right?
Awesome.
But my big takeaway is Isabella Rossellini, because she's not in a lot of movies, and I've watched Blue Velvet more times than people probably should. And I always like her, but, I haven't seen her play any big roles in any other movies, but she's fucking incredible in this. Mm-hmm. So that was cool for me as somebody who, I like this person, but it's not like has this career where she really gets to shine all the time. I mean, in that movie, she shines, but her character doesn't get to shine at all.
Now, see, I was more of a Goldie Hawn fan growing up. I mean, Private Benjamin, Overboard.
What's the one where she's basically Rosie the Riveter? It's not a particularly good movie, but
I'm just trying to think who the hell Rosie the Riveter is.
World War II.
World War II.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah. Swing Shift.
Yes, Swing Shift.
Yeah.
Swing Shift, an almost good movie.
That's one I don't know I've seen.
Yeah, it's her and Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Goldie Hawn was everywhere in the late 80s, early 90s with all those movies. I mean, hell, I think the next year she came out with Bird on a Wire with Mel Gibson, and I mean, she had Foul Play, and she won the Oscar back in the 60s, but Goldie Hawn was just awesome.
Spoiler alert, but as what I really didn't expect, that I kind of not enjoyed the most, because the best thing about the movie is the way it looks and the way it's shot, but that as soon as they both are, undead or whatever, and they finally get to talk, they're like, it's all good. We're friends again. And I'm like, not what I expected. Like, I didn't really expect that to happen. And that was kind of an interesting twist.
Once you can't be better than somebody, what are you going to do?
You
can't beat them, join them.
I feel like it could have been a classic if the movie wasn't so shallow. Because it's just like a really simple idea that doesn't really go anywhere except for it looks incredible. And there's not really any great character development. But it's a perfect Sunday afternoon watch.
Well, let's go ahead and start talking some wrestling here.
Luckily, we can pad it out a little bit.
Oh, that's true. This episode's not going to be very long because this video that we watched isn't very long. What we actually did watch were a couple of videos that we found on YouTube. One was a segment from a WCW Worldwide that shows the events leading up to a World Championship match called The Ross Report. That's why the name of the episode. And it shows highlights of that match. But we also then did find the full match on YouTube as well. And we were like, we might as well just watch the entire thing.
Yeah.
Why not?
The Ross Report, for the setup and the match, because it's the whole match.
It's the whole match, exactly. And the full match would air on WCW Main Event at some point, like a week later. So basically, the show starts with the WCW Worldwide logo coming on the screen, followed by Jim Ross, and he tells us that something major has happened. And then he basically just gives away everything that they're going to show.
I hated that.
In this
Something major
video.
just happened.
Yeah, he's like, you're not. He could have been like, you're not gonna believe this.
And then
You're gonna need your eyes glued to the TV. It's like,
here's what happened. Now let's watch it. It's like, come on, Jim. Like, I have 14 minutes here. I can watch your video.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me what happened. But then he throws it to the video, and we get our first match: Nikita Koloff versus Ravishing Rick Rude for the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. We join the match in progress as Nikita ducks a clothesline, but takes down the ref.
ref bump.
Start
Start off with a ref bump.
Koloff then delivers a Russian sickle for the visual 3 count, but the ref is still on the floor. Cactus Jack then comes rolling into the ring with a chair, only to be taken down by Nikita. But this allows the Ravishing One to grab the chair and smash it across the back of the Russian. Rude then rolls Koloff over as Medusa is getting the ref back into the ring. And then Sting, who was at the commentary table with Jim, comes running down the aisle and starts fighting off Jack and the Ravishing One, using the chair on both before press slamming Rude to the outside on top.
He holds that press that press for like a minute. It's like a full minute. He's got him up. It's funny.
The Stinger then drags Jack back onto the apron, bringing him back into the ring with a vertical suplex, as a second screen pops up onto the screen with a shot of the crowd.
What the hell's
Picture.
going on?
We got picture-in-picture, everybody. It's 1992.
All of a sudden, we see Jake the Snake Roberts
Is confirmed for NWO.
Oh, hey.
climbs over the guardrail, slithers into the ring, and begins laying out Sting with a chair shot, short arm clothesline, and then a DDT
Onto the
onto that chair.
And Jake looks awesome. Continue. I'm sorry.
Doesn't do it just once,
No.
but twice.
You gotta let everybody know that you're here.
Roberts then puts a snake handler's glove on,
Uh-oh.
He's getting careful these days.
reaches into the bag, and looks to grab the snake.
It's a big old bag, too.
But all of a sudden, the Steiners, Ron Simmons, and Barry Windham come running out to the ring to force Jake out.
Real face party.
Robert starts walking off to the back with a smile on his face as everyone's checking on the Stinger.
What about the cross necklace, Matt? Did he drop the cross necklace, or am I?
Oh yeah, he did drop the cross
Yeah,
necklace across
same thing
the
he did to like Hogan. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. It's still cool. It still looks awesome. It looks even more awesome now because Jake looks like a meth leather daddy biker. It looks fucking awesome. He's got like the boots and he looks meaner than, he looks like Jake off the street, not Jake out of the locker room, which makes sense considering the angle that they're doing here. This is our true invasion.
Yes.
Yeah. We then go back to JR, and he tells us with the injuries that were sustained, Sting would not be able to compete for the world title later that night.
Is Sting ever not hurt?
It feels like he's always hurt. He then sends it back to a video, and we see Cowboy Bill Watts come to the ring telling the fans, hey, y'all paid for a world championship title match. We're going to give you a world championship title match.
In fact, we're going to pick it out of a hat.
That's exactly what they do.
Yep.
Which I thought was awesome. It's just like, I mean, why not?
Took away your top rope. Took away your stinger.
The idea is to
Fuck
take
it, throw the names in a
the
hat
top
and we're
7
good.
guys, put their names into a hat,
Yeah.
and pull one out. But
All
before that
top
happens,
contenders.
So some of the names that were in the hat: Ron Simmons, Van Hammer, Dustin Rhodes,
Van Hammer.
Barry Windham, Cactus Jack, the Barbarian,
Sure.
and Dan Spivey.
Ugh. Ugh.
There's a few names there that
That's what the world needs. More
Some of
Dan
these
Spivey.
things are not like the others.
exactly. All of a sudden, Rick Rude jumps into the ring and grabs the mic, saying there's no match going without my name in that bag.
And he should be. Of course he should be out
Because he's the United States title holder.
Yeah, they said Van Hammer. You said Van Hammer, and not Rick Rude.
That's
so
true.
Rick Rude should be upset.
You said fucking Dan Spivey and not
I mean, yeah. My God.
Medusa puts his name in the bag, and then Gary Michael Cabetta draws a name out of the sack.
Everybody waits
Now,
with
little-
bated breath.
Little backstage
We're
news.
going to rewind a little bit.
Cowboy Bill Watts was so paranoid that someone would find out that wrestling is not real.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Kayfabe, guys.
Yeah.
That he legitimately had every person's name actually in the sack.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But Gary Michael Capetta was
going to
told,
say the same thing.
no matter what name you pull,
We're going to say.
we're saying it's Ron Simmons.
That's funny. I like that.
The All-American.
I like, I like these paranoid old hillbillies that like they still want to want wrestling to be at least portrayed as if it's a sport. I appreciate that, and I think we could use more of it.
Wyndham, Van Hammer, and Dustin Rhodes all congratulate Ron, and then Watts tells Simmons to get prepared, for he will have a shot at the title later that evening. But Ron says he's waited a long time for a shot. If it's going down, let's get it over with.
That's pretty badass. Okay, before we get into this, can I ask a question?
You can ask questions all you want.
Or do we talk about it afterwards? Sting is shoot hurt, right?
I can't remember.
Or is
honestly.
Vader going back to Japan? Or are we going to talk about this later? I just want to know if Sting's really
Let's
hurt.
talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
So our second match, Ron Simmons versus Big Van Vader with Harley Race for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Vader would throw the title belt at Simmons' feet, and the two start jawing at each other.
Like, literally jawing. I was laughing at Vader doing his little jaw shake thing as he was trying to intimidate Simmons.
The two lock up, but neither is gaining an advantage until Vader gets Ron into the corner momentarily. But Simmons reverses to start laying it in on Vader, hitting a clothesline, a back suplex, and a flying shoulder tackle to force Vader to the outside to regroup. Back in the ring, Vader looks to take control, but Ron ducks a clothesline and hits a spine buster for a near fall.
I was like, the face is getting the shots in first. I was so confused when it started. But I mean, yeah, it's great.
A 3-point stance charge into the corner by Simmons, only for Vader to get a big boot up. Hit some body shots and clubbing forearms to take Ron down. Avalanche splash in the corner, clothesline, splash in the middle of the ring for a 2 count. More big right hands by Vader and hits a vertical suplex, a Uranagi, and then climbs to the second rope, coming off with the Vader bomb.
Bum, bum, bum.
Makes the cover for the pin, and no! Simmons kicks out. JR lets us know that, can you believe the intestinal fortitude? I was like, we got a JRism.
Yeah.
Was that our first intestinal fortitude?
It's the first one that I remember.
I think so too. I think it's the first one that I think I have a note in here about it because I was like, I don't know that we've heard this yet.
Ron's trying to fire up, only to be taken back down by a clothesline. Goes for another suplex, but Simmons blocks and reverses into one of his own. Vader comes back, clapping Ron's ears, and goes for a short arm clothesline, but Simmons blocks it and reverses it into a backslide pin for a near fall. Vader's back to the right hands, clubbing forearms and Irish whip, and follows in with an avalanche splash, only for Ron to sidestep it and cradle Vader up for a 2 count. Simmons then hits a sunset flip, but Vader just drops down on Ron's chest.
Ouch.
Yeah. Rough.
Vader sets up for the powerbomb, lifts him up,
No.
only for Simmons to float over.
Yes.
So Vader goes to come off the ropes with a clothesline, but Ron catches him with a power slam for the pin and the win. And new Post-match, the crowd is going crazy.
The crowd was pretty hot for this. I don't know if it was just the bad quality video, so maybe the treble was high, but it seemed like the crowd was pretty hot for the whole match.
They've been wanting Ron to have some action for a while, so I think they're finally just exploding over the field.
But I mean, it's a house show. But I guess
that makes it even more.
This is, there's no internet.
There is no internet, and you very rarely have a belt change at a house show. So if that happened, that whole place is gonna blow the fuck up.
Yeah,
including a young black gentleman who's like jumping up and down in the front row. I was like, is that the dad of the guy from the Undertaker Street? All of a sudden, the face locker room empties out to celebrate the victory, mobbing Ron in the ring.
It's a beautiful moment.
Yep.
We then go to Tony Schiavone, who has Ron Simmons in the back, and Ron says, "I dreamed about this since the moment I came into the sport, and this is the best moment of my life. I can't even explain. I can't tell you the feeling it is. My opportunity came, and I grabbed hold of it. And I'm here now with the World Championship." This would make Ron Simmons the first African-American world champion in wrestling history.
Love it.
And that's the reason why we covered this.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was a normal heavyweight title change, we probably would have covered it. But I mean, come on. It's Ron Simmons.
All-American. Played football. Love it.
So to answer your questions from earlier,
yes.
Vader had a knee injury, so they needed to take the belt off of him.
Okay.
And Roberts was coming in for him and Sting to feud.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't put the belt on Sting because, I mean, I guess they could have.
They could have, but they didn't want to put it on Roberts, and Roberts is probably going to beat the shit out of Sting. Because otherwise, Sting needs a comeback match.
Who knows?
Who knows exactly?
Exactly. So they picked someone else. Ended up being Ron Simmons. Bill Watts was actually, he always championed African Americans back in UWF. Junkyard Dog
was champion, but I guess that's not world. This is the first
world champion.
Yeah. It's like he was the territory champion of the Bill Watts territory, but so world champion. There's been African American champions before, but as far as cable, it's different when it's not Channel 2 for only 100 miles in every direction.
Exactly. So that's why they did this whole angle.
Also,
thing.
Bill Watts is an Oklahoma boy. We all know Jim Ross is an Oklahoma boy. Jim Ross is also big on Ron Simmons and anybody that's ever touched a football.
Very true. So, what are y'all's overall thoughts of
it was
the
good
angle, the match?
Since they were in a corner, I think they made the best decision they could have. I would have liked to see it on television, but it was a hard-hitting 12 minutes. Yeah, both the guys looked like big badasses. The win was kind of a quick win, so it didn't completely bury Vader, but both those guys are so big that it's
I mean, Vader got his stuff in. He hit the Vader bomb.
Oh, yeah.
And Simmons was able to kick out, and so it
beat the hell out of Ron.
It made Ron Simmons look even better than.
Yeah, it made Ron Simmons also look smarter because of the way that he won.
Yep.
Which is the smart thing to do with a babyface anyway, because your heels are the smart ones, guys.
But I mean, we get the hot angle to begin the video that we watched, which sets up Roberts and Sting, which...
Oh, yeah, I like all the other setups, too, by the way. The ones that they actually planned, I like those quite a bit.
Totally looking forward to that.
Yeah.
The hot title win makes these two videos really exciting, and I say everyone... I mean, literally, it's going to take you 30 minutes to watch both the videos that we watched. I'll post them on Twitter for everyone.
There you go.
So you can easily find them. But literally, for no other reason to watch these is just to say that you watched a little bit of history.
Yeah, and also, I'm sure that'll probably be on a pay-per-view, some of these clips, but Jake the Snake coming out of the crowd is fun, too, because everybody's fucking losing it.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Jake since he left WrestleMania, so seeing him pop back up so suddenly was a good little surprise. I kind of forgot this was the show that he had made his return, but his debut in WCW.
It's just so weird that it was a house show.
Mm-hmm.
The title change on a house show, they did those every once in a while. But Jake the Snake kind of making his debut.
Seems like it seems like a poor choice.
Well, when you have
they were
5,000 people showing up for your televised things, do something
and also,
like this at a house
it could have
show
been a
and
thing.
it'll draw
I don't know
more
how
attention and get you hopefully better numbers at your next shows.
Yeah, I also don't know how injured Vader was, but maybe Vader didn't want to lose in a pay-per-view. He's got to be. He's got to party in Japan.
Injury
and be
may have just sprung up out of kind of nowhere. Basically, like he hurt himself on this house show tour, and they were like, "Oh, we need to get this off of him. We can't wait until Halloween Havoc is I think their next pay-per-view."
Yeah, and we also know that he's probably going back and forth anyway.
It's a good chance.
But this show held up over time. I remember watching it when it was new and happening back in '92. So it's been more than a few years since I've got to check it out, but
yeah,
still as awesome as it was back then. Just with the little reminder of the Jake factor as to why all of this went down. Because I totally forgot that happened at the same time.
For a 12-minute title match on a house show, it's super solid. This isn't the greatest a title match ever or anything like that, but it's super solid and it's hard hitting and it's a good sprint.
Oh,
It doesn't waste any time and everything looks pretty good.
It's no
So
Steamboat
it's totally worth watching.
No Steamboat versus Savage by any means, but it's definitely nowhere near Hogan versus Warrior #2. Yeah, I don't even know why I use that one as an example because it made it sound like there's a chance that it sucked. The match itself is actually really good. Check it.
I always think about this whenever I watch a Vader match, but there's a Bret Hart quote about how sorry, Leon, rest in peace. But he said wrestling Vader is like wrestling a concrete truck full of vomit. And supposedly he didn't wash his gloves, and he was kind of a rank guy, he was also 400 pounds and laid his shit in, probably because he's been working in Japan. And Bret Hart's, pretty famous for making his shit look good, but being safe or whatever. But Leon leans in a little bit, and that quote, every time I see Vader, I think of that, and it adds a third dimension, maybe a fourth dimension to the match.
Well, since we only covered the one match, we're going to skip all of our smarking it up segments this week.
Yeah. Everything that happened here was cool. Medusa and Rick Rude, huge fan of the way they work together.
Yes.
And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The Dusty Finish.
The NWA was setting up a supercard called Starrcade in Greensboro, North Carolina for November 24th, 1983. The main event would be a steel cage match between Harley Race and Ric Flair. The rivalry had become so heated that a special referee was needed to control the mayhem, bringing in a former NWA champion, Gene Kiniski. Race and Flair would have a heated contest with Harley pulling out everything to work on the Nature Boy's neck, while Flair would continuously slam Race's head into the cage until they were both a bloody mess. Ric Flair would come off the top rope with a crossbody to regain the title for the second time. The rivalry between these two men would continue across the entire world, but this match was largely seen as the torch passing for the NWA.
So, this is the last episode of the show. It's folded in on itself. We are now, we are now Damien eating himself.
We're just a big loop.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. We made it to 83, baby. From 1900s.
72.
To what?
It's episode 72.
No, into time-wise. Yeah. We made it to 1983 what was the first? You started in the 1900s or something like that. You're 1902. Yeah, a guy wrestled a bear at a carnival. Yeah, and here we are now. We have a Ric Flair wrestling a bear in a cage for the first pay-per-view. Go back to episode 1.
Yeah, if you want to hear more about that Dusty finish.
As soon as we turn these mics off, we're just going to no longer exist. Just blink out of off the planet.
Next week, we're going to Japan for the G1 Climax 1992.
My first time in Japan.
We're going to see a crowning of a new NWA World Champion because they're having the winner of the G1 Climax.
And it's big gold. It's legitimately big gold.
Right, it is the return of
Big
Big
Gold.
Gold.
It's so good to see you.
You know what else we're going to have? We're going to have a food or beverage inspired by Tokyo. You'll just have to tune in and find
Super
out.
excited for that next week. Music from this week's show is the theme from WCW Worldwide. And Ron Simmons is the new world champion, so we got to play his music. Hold Up.
Hold up.
By Vicki Benckert.
It's nice when it's not the same 3 songs.
Yes.
So, this isn't the best theme song, but just be glad that it's not real American.
Yeah. And it doesn't have stupid lyrics like Steinerized.
That as well. If you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there and rate us and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts at. As Michael likes to say,
5 stars or no stars.
that's right.
I
know,
got
he's-
it. I remembered.
I put him on the spot.
I was reading. I was reading something over here.
Well, my thought was, oh shit, Michael usually says, what is he going to say when he points at me and says what Shane usually says?
Oh, yeah. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always email us at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at wrestlinghistox. That's wrestling HISTOX.
Still waiting on those requests.
Yeah, send those requests for food items or...
We can't. We're not emailing them food.
No.
I mean, you can email me recipes if you want to.
But, a photo of the crab cakes that we made today are going to be available on Twitter. So you send us a suggestion and I make it, I'll take a picture, post it, and boom, you get credit. So
There you go. You heard it here first. We'll talk to you next week.
Laters.